I remember already not fully loving teaching. You know, I struggled through it. I did it because I wanted to. I felt like I was making a difference, but I wasn't getting the joy that I feel like I deserved. Right?
Mm.
I wanted to make sure that I just couldn't see myself as a teacher long term. And I had so much success or joy in other areas that I just couldn't allow myself to continue down that path. And I had to do something that brings me joy. And that's part of the reason why I started HD Company. That's why NUS The Brand exists. And that's why I'm an entrepreneur.
Welcome to Living Once Twice, a lifestyle design and personal adventure podcast. My name is Justin. Come with me as I'm here to help you chart your course for creating the fulfilling life you desire. Join me as every Wednesday we'll dive into the inspiring guest stories, remarkable science, and useful strategies to help you create the momentum you need to take action towards designing your dream life. Remember, your dream life is waiting for you. It's time to go for it. You deserve it. Greetings all, and welcome to Living Once Twice. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I'm very excited to bring on today's guest, Harrison Underwood. Harrison is an entrepreneur, community leader, and creator of NUS The Brand, which is a culturally conscientious brand and lifestyle serving as a gentle reminder to live a more meaningful life, both authentically and creatively. Harrison, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm excellent, man. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, you already know it. I appreciate you being down for it. And before we dive into your journey and the inspiring work you're doing to really help awaken folks' consciousness and their ability to design a more fulfilling and purposeful life, I got to give the folks context. Man, me and Harrison go back to our undergraduate days at SUNY Brockport. I was a super senior on my way out. Harrison was coming in as a freshman, but we bonded over that journey. We've stayed in touch throughout the years. And I also got appreciate you too, because a while back when I was going through my own kind of lifestyle design awakening, you were one of the folks that I got to hit up, tap about learning about your experience, how you've designed your lifestyle. And I'm going to tell you folks, this young man's, his mindset, his mentality, his approach to life is something we could all pull from, we could all learn from. So I really am grateful for this conversation that we're about to have, because you're still killing it. We were just chatting before we started recording, man, and the things that you're doing and still evolving. It's once again, I think something our audience is going to be able to learn from and to be inspired by. So to
Man,
have you on and come and share, like I said, this is going to be great.
I really hope so, man. Part of the brand is to not even just part of the brand, part of my personal values, man, is to build strong community and to make sure people are, just coming together and learning from each other because that's important.
Right on with that, because yeah, we can't all do it by ourselves here. So Harrison, you being a different breed, and I hope folks take their pens and pads out because they're about to get a lesson today. Let's just take them back. I want you to share with folks, let them know, who is Harrison Underwood, where are you from, and let us know about what was your transition into the real world like. So what about your transition to the real world led you to realizing that you wanted to tap into your entrepreneurial spirit?
Man, to be honest, Justin, man, I remember being a little kid and maybe it was something on TV, maybe it was just something around. I just remember wanting to wear a suit and carry a briefcase. So I used to want to be a businessman when I was a kid. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well, man. But I'm from Rochester, New York, east side of the city. Shout out to 14621. I know you had my boy Dre Johnson out here a while back. So we from the same neighborhood. So I'm excited to represent for Rochester. But born and raised Rochester, New York. I went to Brockport with you. I was a business undergrad, actually an accounting major for a few years, and switched to business administration for the sake of graduation. Campus leader, of course, president of OSAD, probably one of the greatest experiences that I had. Next to Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, probably the greatest experience I've ever had to this day. Yeah, shout out to all of those people, man. So that's me in a nutshell.
Now, let's take people to your transition to the real world, because you said growing up, you knew that becoming an entrepreneur was in your spirit. However, many of us who go that path of we graduate high school, we go to college, we get our degrees, we find ourselves in that 9 to 5 work culture where you're on a one track path. So when you transitioned and graduated right away and you jumped into like different roles and things of that nature, was there a moment, was there a turning point for you there where you were like, you know what, this is not for me. The secure and safe lifestyle, I thought it was going to be meaningful and purposeful to me. But when did you hit that point where you were like, there was that yearning in your heart that you're like, you know what, I got to pivot and do something. I got to do something different than this.
I think the pandemic hit all of us hard. And I think that kind of forced us to really see who we are and when the situation changes. And I remember already not fully loving teaching. You know, I struggled through it. I did it because I wanted to. I felt like I was making a difference, but I wasn't getting the joy that I feel like I deserved. Right.
Mm,
I wanted to make sure that I just couldn't see myself as a teacher long term. And I had so much success or joy in other areas that I just couldn't allow myself to continue down that path. And I had to do something that brings me joy. And that's part of the reason why I started HD Company. That's why NUS The Brand exists. And that's why I'm an entrepreneur mainly. I have a job now still, but I'm a business manager at my undergrad college, which is almost, something I would normally be doing.
mhm.
So it's just really helpful.
Yeah, and I appreciate you talking about almost it came full circle. You graduated, so you went into the real world. You did the teaching thing, but you weren't finding you hit a key word there, joy. You didn't find that joy, which is important to know when you got that tug in your heart that is letting you know that something is off, something isn't right. So I'm curious to what you would advice you would share for listeners out there who maybe are at that same kind of crossroad, Harrison, where they're on one side of the track, they could go down the route of safety and security. But then on the other side, there's this unknown uncertainty. However, that's where they feel that their passion lies. That's where they feel that they could do something more with their life. And if I go this route, it will take me there. But I'm nervous, I'm scared because it's also an unknown, it's an unknown path. Like what would you share with them about that? Or was there a part of your process that helped you to work through taking that leap?
Man, that's a loaded, loaded question, man. And I think just to put some weight on it, if you think about it this way, and this is extreme, you're going to die one day, right? We're all going to die one day. And we have to make a decision. We can have anything, we just can't have everything. So I think if you're okay knowing that you're not going to make the decision, you have to just be okay with that. And if you're going to do it, you have to step out, be bold, and do it. And it's not going to be easy, but it can be done, right? So that kind of makes me think about NUS The Brand because I'm afraid all the time, but I know that I can't be afraid to do things. So NUS The Brand is a reminder, right? It's a trigger to me to live a meaningful life. Like it's gonna be scary. It's not always gonna be easy to do, but it's not impossible, right? There's a lot of people who've done it before you, most likely, and there's a good chance you can find some help.
Yeah, and walk us through that. Can you share more behind the story of NUS the Brand? Like, when did the idea come to the surface, and how did you bring that idea to a reality?
Justin, this is a time for I can big you up as well, right? So I remember being on campus back in college as a freshman, and you had to be one of the happiest guys that I seen. And I just love that you're positive. I love that you just had a good outlook on life, and I really connected with that, right? Because I'm like that. I'm always happy. I just want to see the best. I'm an optimistic person, and oftentimes I was around people and or myself at times, right? And I would be down, or my friends would be down, and I just wanted to make sure that we have some kind of encouragement, right? We used to call it shine in the nighttime. And it's just like an encouraging kind of thing, right? I'm a positive person. I wanted to stop the negativity around me. I didn't want to be around negative people and just make them feel bad about it. So I started to just be polite, be nice to people. And I started to be nicer to myself after a
Mm.
while, right? And after just working for a while, man, I think I've already been into e-commerce. NUS The Brand isn't my first e-commerce thing, and I've always been talking positive things. I think I just merged the e-commerce and positive things together and started NUS The Brand.
Yeah, I love it. I love what it stands for. I love the whole aspect of promoting positivity, bringing that optimism to folks, and I want to kind of focus around that aspect. with respect to talking about optimism and positivity, especially as you've gone about creating this and trying to bring this more into the world, as you've gone down this entrepreneurial journey and try to continue to keep yourself rooted in your optimism, in your positivity, I'm curious, did you have to deal with at all others maybe casting doubt upon certain endeavors that you were looking to dive into, to explore, maybe saying things like, you can't do that, or that's not possible, or that's going to be crazy or difficult to pull off? Like, did you encounter any of that external feedback, resistance, even if it was coming from a loving place? Like, did you encounter that? And if so, how did you deal with it and stay rooted in your vision?
Yeah, man, I encounter that quite often. I think naturally people just are thinking a certain way. So they're going to push their thought on you out of love. And that's okay. Also, there's people who care about you and they may not think you have what it takes to do it. I think you should take that in consideration and find some alone time to think about it and figure out what you really want. Because if you want it, you're going to find a way, right? You'll find a way to get what you want, right? And if you don't, you'll make excuses on why you can't. It's hard to believe that people are just going to go out their way to tell you you can't do it for no reason. They're probably saying it because they care. It's just not something that they're used to. And that's okay. You have to be confident in yourself to kind of know what you want and then boldly take it.
Mm. Hey man, there's so much I want to talk about. We'll go back to that whole betting on ourselves, but hitting on confidence. I'm curious whether it's the people that you know in the circle that you've been around and just others. We talk about that on this show of many of us are nervous or scared to bet on ourselves, or we have this self-doubt and don't think or believe in our capabilities. I'm curious to hear, Harrison, from your perspective of why do you feel so many of us who've maybe gone on, got these degrees, we've done all different kind of things, but still struggle with having the confidence in ourselves to take that leap, to make that vision into a reality. And instead of betting on ourselves, we count ourselves out before we even give our chance a self to explore it or get started. Like, why do you feel we struggle with that confidence piece?
Justin, that's an excellent question. I think the first thing that comes to mind is community, right? Maybe we're not taught the confidence, right? Or we haven't seen it done before. So it's hard to even envision it. The mindset is just, if you want to make sure you have that confidence, if I can give some practical advice, I'm just thinking about you have to spend more time around the community that believes in you and less time around a community that doesn't, because you have to take these risks.
Mm.
And the more negativity you have around you, the less likely you're going to be able to do it. Even if you can't do it, you have to figure that out for yourself. And you have to determine how you're going to show up after failure.
Yeah, I love the community aspect of being,
One
use a
thing,
quote here, iron sharpens iron.
yeah, iron sharpens iron. Another thing about NUS The Brand, Justin, I want to add on, man, is the sun comes up every day, right? What I want to bring with NUS The Brand is that type of energy, something that you're willing to do every day because you want to and you can, right? It's almost a mature kind of love or a mature kind of respect to know that you have to do this often. Like, this is your lifestyle. This is what you decided to do, right? I think it's easily to get caught up in joy. I was just thinking about how we were talking earlier about joy. Joy is good, and joy is like the compass almost. But I don't want to get
Mhm.
confused with fluttery hearts and laughing and joking. I think it's almost immature to think that it's not going to come with pressure, right? I think that when you're doing something to, that's the brand is about creatively living your life and authentically living your life. You have to know that that's what you decided to do, right? You have to do it. You have to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, you're taking us back, and I want to stay here though, as you're talking about the work of, okay, I got a vision, I put it in reality, but it doesn't just end there, or it's not like none of this is an overnight process. And you hit on joy, but we know that in order to live out a meaningful and authentic life, it's work, it's daily work. So I'm curious for you, what have been some of the challenges that you've had to have encountered and overcome in your journey of developing this business and entering the world of entrepreneurship? Like, what have been some of the obstacles and hurdles that you've had to work through yourself?
Man, a lot of it was mindset and believing in yourself. That's the brand started, just like I was saying, there was a lot of negative people around. And just how I'm not always in the best space, I was just talking to myself and giving that advice to other people and really making their day, right? So I had to really just switch my mindset. And when my mindset kind of changed, I think once you start accomplishing things, you get the ball rolling. It just kind of, the momentum happens, right? So one of the biggest stories that I like to compare to, Justin, and you knew me back then, was my weight loss journey. So I remember being just obese. It wasn't easy to get out of that, right? But one day I just really had enough. It had to be 2013. I had enough. I just kept trying different things. I tried cardio, I tried weightlifting, I tried dieting, I tried all these creative little things in between. Eventually, I found something that worked. It was a keto diet before it was all a fad. It worked really well on me, but because I didn't give up, I was able to find something and I was able to stay disciplined enough to continue with it to get to what I really wanted. So because I really wanted it, I was able to, keep searching and build the stamina, right, of trying all those other things to find it. And that didn't happen until 2017. So that was 3 years. The keto process itself only took for a few months, actually. But
Mhm.
the process of me trying to find that took years after making the decision to keep going, right? So I knew what I wanted. So that's some practical advice as well. And I kind of want to give that through advertising or just through the story with NUS The Brand is that, you have to decide what you want and know that this is what it takes to get it and be okay with it.
Now that's powerful. And I love that you talked about everything about the mindset piece. And last season, we talked about Carol Dweck's book in terms of having a growth mindset and a fixed mindset and the importance of us to adopt a growth mindset. So you talked about some other traits in there, Harrison, that and what stands out for me is that you cultivated that discipline. And you've also earlier talked about creating that stillness and getting quiet. So I want to dive deeper into how you continue ways that you've built your mental muscle. Were there books that you came across, individuals that you tapped in that helped you to just from an inside out strengthen your own mental muscle to be able to what it was a long game for you. You talked about it was a 3-year journey and that was in terms of your weight loss journey, but like how have you continued to build that mental muscle to carry you
So
for the long game that the journey of living a more authentic life is?
listen, I know I've already been all over the place, but this is about to be a loaded one. All right. So, in short, community, right? I'm really lucky to have a strong community around me. I've seen guys take it to the next level, whether it be fitness, whether it be business, or
Mhm.
intellectually. Seeing that was inspiring. They're dropping golden nuggets left and right and stuff. So I hear a lot of gems on a regular basis. So I'm lucky enough to be around that.
Oh,
Um,
we gotta share some. Were there any quotes or affirmations or
well,
things that have stuck in out to you that you like, I live by this, or this is a constant reminder that I tell myself when things are getting hard or I don't want to push forward?
mine's is bigger, better, stronger.
Mhm.
I know that there's always someone bigger, there's always someone better, and there's always someone stronger. So I know to just keep working hard, man. I think my
Mhm.
time is always going to come. Just as it always been coming, it always will come. But one of the big pieces of information I think that I kind of stands out to me right now was actually I got something from a YouTube influencer, Jim Quick. Right, he's
Mhm.
a learning machine. He talks about reading, literally giving you his brain exercise. So I'm smart enough to know that good information, you can pay for good information, right? Is valuable. And I went through his memory course. And as I went through his memory course, he talks about the foundation of reading and how it helps you out with everything. So as I became a reader, I think that my capacity to learn just really opened up. So if it was just real practical advice, I would say make it a lifestyle change to read, and
Mhm.
you're instantly going to improve.
And are there some you talked about Jim Quick. Are there other talking speaking of reading, and I'm a huge advocate of brain food, being able to absorb the ideas of other individuals through books. It wasn't something that I grew up doing, but I find so much value in it, especially so much timeless works that are there books. I'm curious, do you have a Mount Rushmore? Give me like 3 or 4 books that you would say, hey, if you're looking to build your mental mindset, to increase your confidence, to start betting on yourself, are there 3 or 4 or a couple books that you would recommend that folks should check out?
The very first book that comes to mind is The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz. He tells us about how we should be thinking bigger. So a lot of times we're thinking we really want something, but if you were to times it by 10, you see that the steps are pretty much the same, right? So you can dream bigger than what you ever want, you can never think of. So that book kind of changed my mindset in terms of what I wanted, because when I was younger, I thought what I wanted in life, which I won't get into, wasn't really much. And now it's a lot more because I know
Mhm.
it's possible. So The Magic of Thinking Big, another book I would say is The Compound Effect. I think his name is Randy Hardy, something like that. But that book gives very simple worthy steps to get started. So it talks about chunking things down and how time is going to happen either way.
Mhm.
So even if you got 1% better every day, that'll be 365%. So I think that's a nice book. And also The Alchemist, right? So it
Mhm.
talks about a boy going through his journey and how he makes sense of things. And one thing I learned while reading is while you're going through your journey, reading something that's just in line with what's going on, it just makes more sense that way.
These are some great recommendations here. And I like how you've talked, Harrison, about unifying both the physical on the outside and then once again the mental muscle as well here. So now this is some powerful stuff. So for our next segment, this is going to be our each one, teach one rapid fire questions. And so got 4 questions for you, Harrison, and then you just share what comes to mind. You ready for it?
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's get it. All right. So the first question is, what is one habit that has been impactful to you that you would recommend that everyone needs to do?
Get up early. I think you need that alone time to yourself to really figure out what you want and maybe think about the steps it takes to get it done, right? And we know that your muscle is stronger in the morning, so you don't get too many decisions later.
Oh, that's a good one. That silence, that solitude, and that stillness time to really set your foundation. I like that one, Harrison. So the next question is, if you could make one law or policy that everyone had to abide by, what would it be and why?
If I had to make one law that everyone had to abide by, I would say to check in with someone regularly to tell them your plans,
Mm.
right? Whether it be really good or really bad, just a check in to make sure that you're actually being, right? You're being a good person or you're being healthy.
That's legit. I don't know if you look at that as kind of a accountability person. I know you talked about that community piece. So I don't know if that's something that you actively also integrate into your design, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. Community, man. I think I tried my best to keep good people around me. And I think some of the best resources, like money can't buy you everything. It's always going to be a person that's going to help you learn something. It's always going to be a person that you're going to basically need to help you out as well. So I think community is important. You need a strong community around you. I think that's the best thing anyone could do is to be around a strong community and put themselves in that situation.
No, that's right, man. Appreciate you speaking on that, brother. So, speaking of resources and people, if you had all the resources on the planet, so time, money, people power to make something happen and bring a passion project to life, Harrison, what would it be? What would you bring out into the world?
I would bring them NUS The Brand. I would tell them that NUS The Brand would be their gentle reminder to live authentic, creative life. So they should see it as many times as possible to get as many triggers and reminders to do so.
Love it. Love it. And then the last one, this is the question that I'm asking all of our guests this season is if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice about taking risks in life, what would you have said, Harrison, and why?
If I was talking to my 20-year-old self, I would tell myself to be serious about the experiences that you take, right? I think everyone should just have plenty of experiences to figure out what they like and don't like. I wish when I was 20 years old, I would have been more serious about the experiences that I had. I think a lot of them I took for granted because I didn't think they were as important as they panned out to be.
And just to segue into something real quick about, you and I were talking about our 20-year-old selves and being in college. And for many of us, when we graduated college, we had the world figured out at that point in time. We had that 20-year-old, 22-year-old ego, and we were just on another planet and vibe there. So I'm also curious too of that piece, because we may have some listeners out here who are in university right now and preparing for their transition into the real world as well. So, any thoughts you want to share about that whole piece of whether it's taking things for granted or managing the ego that we may have at that time of the things that we still don't know, that we don't know? But anything you want to just share about that whole aspect as it relates to your own journey?
I think you kind of touched on it. Some things we just don't know, right? And we don't know that we don't know them. I think if more people knew that they don't know, the things that they didn't know, especially when you're an undergrad student, because as a 21-year-old or 22-year-old, it's impossible to know what it's like to be a 30-year-old, right? Because you've never been there. I would say know that you don't know, spend some time doing things, meaningful things with people to actually have those experiences. Feel the feels. So if something is sad, let it be sad. If something is happy, be happy with it and always give back. I think the relationship that you have with people are going to mean way more than anything you learn at the school, in a textbook. So just make sure you just be there with one another, be in community.
Right on with that. Right on with that. So, Harrison, can you just tell folks what's next for you and where can they go to learn more and connect with you?
Yeah, what's next now is we're going to add the fall features for NUS The Brand out. So make sure you check out the website, www.nusthebrand.com. We have the Instagram at NUS The Brand on Instagram. Also, if you're just learning more about my personal journey, Justin, I don't know if you've seen, but I have an Instagram called Harrison Duke University, Harris Duke University. And I'm
Okay.
just talking about
Dope.
my life experiences. Again, I don't know if you saw my text message, but I'm better at just chatting, man. The whole point about NUS The Brand is to be able to creatively express yourself. I'm actually better at expressing myself outside of words, right? I don't know if I told you I did a 5K for my birthday, and I was just something I wanted to do. I think just being able to find ways to express yourself and find ways to do things is I think that's what NUS The Brand is all about.
Yeah, you out here doing it, man. And I'm just excited to be in community with you. As I highlighted earlier on, like when I went through my career crisis, midlife crisis, whatever it was, once again, you were one of the ones I had to tap because I just knew, likewise, I could borrow from your energy, from your insight, from your perspective. And so that was a part of just contributing to where I'm at today and the conversation we're having. So, folks, I really hope that you had your pens, your paper handy because this interview and the insight that Harrison has shared has hopefully served as another reminder of the importance it is for us to wake up and realize that the time is now to bet on yourselves. Read a great article from Joe DeBalcom about no one's coming to save us. No one has the vision that you have or the unique blend of skills and talent and perspective. It is up to you. And Harrison talked about it earlier too. Life ain't guaranteed for all of us. So it's up to each and every single one of us and really to you to bring out your own unique dream, your own unique skills, your own unique passion and start living it out. Otherwise, trust me, there are people in this world that will find a way for you to live out their dream, their vision for you. And that doesn't connect with especially what NUS The Brand is about of living a more authentic life, meaningful life that is built around the foundation of your authenticity and your creativity. So once again, let's all get off of the sidelines, come off onto to the playing field and live it up because what is on the other side is if you choose to risk it, we know that. But what if you don't? If you don't choose to risk it, if you bet against yourself, you downplay your own vision, your fulfillment, we've all been there. And to live in that regret or that, as Harrison mentioned, you get to the end of your life and you have those what ifs. I don't think that's what we put on earth to do. So the future, remember, it rewards the bold. So go out there, bet on yourself, believe in your vision, connect with Harrison on all of the links and resources that he shared. And yeah, we'll continue to build together in community, build this thing like a muscle so we could all be liberated. Harrison, I appreciate you, brother. And listen, I'm going to continue to follow your journey. And to all the listeners out there, listen, that is it for the show. I appreciate y'all all for your presence and thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please show your support by sharing the Living Once Twice podcast on LinkedIn, Instagram, or wherever, leaving us a review on iTunes, reaching out to you all through the time and the space that separates us to say, remember, your dream life is waiting for you. Go for it. You deserve it. Catch you later on Living Once Twice.